Hello everyone, this is Faiz and welcome to my channel. In today's video, I'm going to go over how you can read faster. We've all been there, when we have a lot of paperwork to get through with a deadline that feels like it's getting closer and closer, or when we have to study for a test and we just have so much reading to get through. Well, there are 10 proven ways to increase your reading speed, and that's exactly what I will walk you through in today's video. Step number 1, stop the inner monologue. One's inner monologue, also known as subvocalization, is an extremely common trait among readers. It is the process of speaking the words in your head as you read, and that is actually the biggest obstacle that gets in the way of you being able to increase your reading speed. In fact, this is how teachers teach their young students to read. Recite the words silently in your head as you read. Now, remember back in our early school days where our teachers would tell us, read it in your head as I read the passage aloud? Well, that's one of the ways in which this habit of having an inner monologue was ingrained into us as a young reader. When we were initially taught to read, we were taught to sound out every single thing that we read aloud. Once you were proficient enough at that, your teacher had you start saying the words in your head. That is how the habit originated, and most people continue reading this way even today. It does not adversely affect them in any way until they start wanting to read at a faster pace. Now, if you are seeking to increase your reading speed, this is the first thing you must learn to overcome. So you may be wondering, why does this slow you down? Well, the average reading speed is pretty much the same as the average talking speed. According to Forbes, the average adult reading speed is 300 words per minute. The average talking speed is the exact same. So since most people are in the habit of saying the words out loud in their head as they read, they tend to read around the same pace as they talk. This means that your reading speed will only increase so much if you continue to keep up that inner monologue. Now, if you want to continue to increase your reading speed, you need to eliminate this. To do this, you need to understand one thing, that it's unnecessary. You do not need to say every word in your head in order to understand the material that you are reading. You see, it was when you were younger, but now you're able to input the meaning just from seeing the words alone. Your brain still processes the information. For example, when you're driving and you see a yield sign, do you actually stop to speak the word in your head? Of course not. You just look at it and process it automatically. This is what you need to be doing when you read your print material as well, such as books or paperwork. Now, if you're having a hard time attempting this, try reading with instrumental music playing in the background or just chew on some gum. A distraction will keep your brain less focused on subvocalization, though you will still look at the words and process them. Step number 2, word chunking. Word chunking closely parallels with the idea of eliminating the inner monologue. This is the act of reading multiple words at once, and is the key to reading faster. All of these reading tips tie together, yet word chunking is probably the most active tool to use when you work to increase your reading speed. A person can take in several words at a time, even though we are trained, as mentioned with the inner monologue, to read each word at a time and not miss a single article. Using your peripheral vision is one way to make this step easier, but we will get to that in a minute. For now, just focus on trying to read 3 words with one glance. Continue on down with the page just like that, taking note of how much faster you complete the entire page of text. You are still able to process and comprehend what you read, but spend far less time doing it. Step number 3, do not reread the words on the page. Now, before we move on to the peripheral vision part, which is a real kicker, you're going to want to make sure you break the habit of rereading the words on the page. Now, if you watch the average person's eyes as they read, you'll notice they jump quite around a bit. They don't just flow evenly back and forth as they should. This is because the average person, and you do this as well, tends to backtrack over words that they have already read. This is one thing that prevents you from being able to increase your reading speed. Now, you probably do this without even realizing that you're doing it, which makes it a bit of a tricky habit to break out of. The easiest way, even though you may feel quite a bit childish doing this, is to use your finger or bookmark to guide you along. Keep your finger running back and forth across the page without stopping or going back. Keep tracking the words as your finger continues to make it down the text. When you get to the end, think about what you want to read. You do not go back over a single word, and yet you still can recall what you have read. Step number 4, use peripheral vision. First off, congratulations. If you've made it this far into the video, then guess what? You've made it to the key step that really ties everything together. While this may not be the final step, it is certainly a critical one. Now, for this step, use the techniques from everything I discussed already to view and comprehend several words at one time. Instead of chunking in smaller groups of words, try reading one line at a time. This involves looking at the center of the line and using your peripheral vision to read the rest of it. Scan the page in this manner, and when you reach the bottom, you will find that you still understood what you read, but you did it in record time. Speaking of time, this brings me to point number 5. Use a timer. Now is your chance to test yourself and work on how to increase your reading speed each time you read. Set a timer for 1 minute, reading normally as the time dwindles down. When the timer goes off, note how many pages you have read. The website Words to Pages will help you figure out how many words you've read. Now, combine everything that you have learned and repeat the test. And I want you to keep doing this. Continue to beat your previous count each time. Set a daily or weekly goal and treat yourself when you reach it. Continue with this little game, and you'll be able to increase your reading speed in no time. Step number 6, set a goal. Holding yourself accountable will better ensure that you stick with your reading and your timer tests. Give yourself a goal of a certain number of pages to read each day or every week, etc., and stick to it. When you reach it, treat yourself. Incentive never hurts anyone. Step number 7, read more. The old saying that practice makes perfect is pretty accurate. Any professional, artist, musician, whoever practices their work regularly will tell you that a reader should be doing the same thing. You see, the more you read, the more you will be better at it. The better you are at reading, the more you will increase your reading speed. Theodore Roosevelt read 1 book before breakfast and then 3 or 4 more in the evening. He also read papers and other such pamphlet-style reading material. Now, I'm not sure how long these books were, but I'm going to assume they were probably of average length. Now, use his obsession as fuel for your own goal. Step number 8, use a marker. Do you ever find your vision slipping and sliding through the pages that you read? That's not a problem. We all go through that. All you have to do is simply place an index card below each line and slip it down as you read. This will ensure that you stay reading one line at a time rather than fitting your eyes about and taking nothing in. Step number 9. Work on improving your vocabulary. Think about it. You're reading along, and then you run into a word you don't know. Do you skip it? Do you try to figure it out by context? Do you stop to look it up? Whichever course of action you take, you are slowing your time significantly, if not stopping it altogether, to go and look up that word. Now, if you work on improving your vocabulary, you will know more words. The more words you know, the faster you read. The faster you read, the more you can read. Now, it may be self-evident, but it is very important. Step number 10, the final point. Skim the main points first. Finally, when you're in a real time crunch, take a deep breath and just calm down. Open the book and take some time reading over all the main points. Read the table of contents, read the subtitles, read the captions under the diagrams. Get an overall feel for the chapter or the section you're about to read. After that, read the first paragraph of each main section. Read the last, read the middle. Think this over in your head and piece it together. Then start reading everything else while employing the techniques we have just discussed. You'll realize that you will retain your information much better as well as you get your reading done faster. So those are my 10 proven ways on increasing your reading speed. But as always, I would really love to hear your tips and tricks for reading or anything in general. So don't forget to comment below and let me know. And if you haven't already, please be sure to subscribe to my channel for content like this. Until then, I'll see you next time.